Wow. Greatest introduction ever. That was incredible. Man, guys, you can sit down. Yeah, me too, man. So, being able to talk to you guys is like one of the highlights of my life. The reason why is because when there's hunger, everything comes out so easy. And you guys are so in love with Jesus that all I have to do is mention his name. And tonight I'm going to preach about Jesus, the one and only. I've come to pluck the strings of your heart tonight. The only thing that I ask is that when one of them is plucked, let it ring as long as it rings. Don't mute it. Just let whatever God begins to, whatever melody he begins to play in your heart, just let it go tonight. I feel really happy right now. Really happy. I want to say my wife is with me. She's here in the front. And also, guys, my parents are here. They're over here on the left. Yeah, it's an honor to have my parents here. They prayed me in. They prayed me in. I told my mom last night, everything that we're doing now has its roots in prayers that were prayed before I knew him. So it's very special. So we're going to be talking. Oh, let me also say, if Michael is watching, which he probably is, bro, to hold this microphone and stand behind this pulpit is a great honor to me. I'm going to talk about the one that we love tonight. So turn to John chapter 3. We're going to look at verse 31. Man, he's here, guys. During worship, I had this strange image. You ever have an image come to you while you're worshiping the Lord? Just some strange, weird thing that just pops in from nowhere. You didn't grasp for it, it grasped for you. I saw Jesus skipping through the entire place with a smile, touching people like duck, duck, goose. It sounds really weird, but I really feel like God is renewing joy in people's lives. He was going around with happiness, touching people. The one who's anointed with joy above all his fellows is going duck, duck, goose. He was touching each person, trying to renew their joy. So I feel like God is going to do that tonight as we exalt the Son. So verse 31, listen to these words out of the mouth of John the Baptist, okay? John the Baptist is the one filled with the Holy Spirit from his mother's womb with one purpose, and that is to make clear the way for Jesus. What does it mean to make clear the way for Jesus? It means remove everything that's in front of him. That's what John does. I'm clearing the way so that you can see Jesus. And this is what John, the clearer of the way, says. He who comes from above is above all. I want you to say this with me. He who comes from above is above all. And now this word for all is not just other people. He's above everything. He's not just the greatest man as the Son of Man. He's the greatest thing there will ever be. He is high above anything that you can think of, any name that you can remember, anything that can happen, he's above everything. And John the Baptist is trying to call the attention to Jesus, the one and only. John, the writer of the book of John, says in the 18th verse of the first chapter, he says, Jesus, the one and only. You stop right there. Jesus is the one and the only. What does the one mean? It means there are no others. And only means there'll never be another. He stands high above all and remains high above all. The very beginning, when you see that Jesus comes on the scene, announced by John the Baptist is saying, look at him. Look at the Lamb. Then at the end, when everything's over and you go to the book of Revelation, you see that all of us are singing, looking at the Lamb. So it all begins with looking at the Lamb, and it all ends with looking at the Lamb. There is literally nothing else to do than to look at him. This bothers a lot of people because they're like, but Eric, there's other stuff to do. No, there's not. Jesus said this is the one thing that is necessary, and it is to look at him. You say, Eric, but aren't there other things to do? No. The more you look at him, the more you become like him and effortlessly do his things. So you're not trying to write out a list, making sure you do all these things. Jesus did this, Jesus did that, and I'm checking my list, making sure I'm like Jesus. Just look at Jesus, and he'll make you like himself. So God is more interested in his son than anything else. It took 1,600 years to put this whole book together. All to say 2 words, my son. He's got in his heart a sound, a melody, and it is the person of Jesus. God's heart throbs, it beats for Jesus. And I believe many of us suffer in various areas of our lives simply because we've lost our love interest in Jesus. I believe that you could pin every personal problem back to a deviated gaze. At some point, somewhere along the way, Jesus got replaced. Okay, Eric, I've never replaced Jesus. Okay, maybe you added to him. The moment you add to Jesus, you subtracted from your life. Every addition to him is a subtraction. So we become so taken up with ourselves. We become so me-minded. It's just easy. We become earthly minded, and we lose the excitement of his name. I'm telling you that this beautiful name was given to him by his Father and sent to the earth by an angel. You shall call his name Jesus. And it is this wonderful name, this beautiful name given to him, that everything that God performs comes through. Everything that God is going to do is inside of this wonderful, beautiful, matchless, divine name above every name, Jesus. There is nothing more powerful, and yet there's nothing more tender. You find quickly as you walk with the Lord that this name heals the sick and also cleanses the weak sinner. This name is that name that is above all. And I'm saying these things because I feel in my heart like what God wants to do is refocus, recenter, refix everything back on Jesus. But you say, Eric, I'm living that way. Well, you're more excited than anybody else about what I'm saying because you see what I'm saying. And let it be to you tonight a gas on the fire. Let it be like God more solidifies your only. That you tonight will leave this place with a He who's from above is above all written so deeply on your heart that it'll change the way you respond to things that you didn't even know you were responding to wrongly because you took Jesus out of it. So Francis de Sales once said, we've become more occupied with love than the beloved. Man, I would venture to add to that these days we become more occupied a lot of times with miracles than the beloved. A lot of times we get more occupied with ministry than the beloved. A dear friend of mine got a job, and he really wanted to be able to use his workplace as a mission field. You know what I mean? Anybody know what I mean when I say that? Nobody says, okay. Go into the workplace and preach Jesus. And so he gets there and they show him what he's going to be doing, and he recognizes, man, I'm going to be all by myself all day long. So he says, Lord, I'm not going to be able to minister to anybody. There's no one to minister to, Lord. And the Lord speaks to him and says, what about me? Man, he told me this story in my backyard, and I almost ran to the side of the house to curl up in a ball and just weep. I looked at him, I said, bro, you got to stop talking to me. What about me? Man, maybe you're here and your life is not going the way you thought. Maybe you thought you were going to be just like the next Daniel Kalinda or something. And now you're at home, changing diapers. And you say, man, I'm just kind of disappointed with my life. No, there's one you can minister to. And as a matter of fact, it's the highest ministry there is. There isn't a higher ministry than going low before God. It's the secret of happiness. It's the secret of a fulfilled life. When you give up being fulfilled by other things, then He can come in and fulfill you in every way. And this is the beauty of what Jesus is to us. So we must ask Him to take us up. What I want you to do right now, just begin to say to the Lord, right now, just close your eyes, just say, Lord, take me up with you. Tell Him, say, Lord, I want to go up with you. I wrote this down. Lord, He's the uncontested pinnacle. What is a pinnacle? The pinnacle is the highest point where only He remains, man. He's in the heights and no one else can dwell there. And if you want to come and be with Him there, you can't bring anything with you. Did you hear what I just said? Many times people want to dwell with the Lord and live in the sweetness of His presence, but they want to drag all this stuff with them. You can't take anything into the high pinnacle. The pinnacle will receive nothing but you. And so your heart and your life has got to be completely reduced down to just you, Lord. And then you'll find the riches of His person. But as long as you hold on to all these other things, He can't be what He wants to be completely through and to you. So I wrote this down. Take me to the pinnacle above with you, my love, where all others fall off and my heart becomes soft and my mind is solved and my will is dissolved. Cause me to see continually that I might always be captivated by your beauty. The splendor, the ineffable renders my soul into surrender. So take me up, Lord, higher to be with you, above my concerns and my plans and my needs, my preparations, my desires, my dreams, above callings and giftings and streams and the thinking of all lower themes. Take me up, Lord, and let me see your face shine. Carry me to you and blind me too, so that I can become new. Where so few are lost, ecstatically fastened to you. Bind me here, confine me near, align me so I can hear, fearing no more, nor restricted by ceilings or floors, to the depths and the heights of your person. Take me, Lord. Free me and make me believe thee blissfully, oh, to be his only. See, we look to him and live. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, that the essential Christian message is not behave, but behold. It's the key. I'm looking and I'm living by looking. See, when I stop looking at him, I stop seeing him. When I stop seeing him, I stop desiring him. When I stop desiring him, I start looking for other things. John Piper said it like this: sin is what you do when you're not satisfied with God. And then holiness then becomes the fruit of being addicted to the maximum pleasure of life, which is God himself. It's a fixed gaze. Eric, you don't understand. I'm dealing with sin. Look at the Lamb. Eric, I'm struggling. You don't understand. There's like a deep-rooted issue. Look at the Lamb. There's nothing too deep for him. Only looking at the Lamb can plunge deep enough to get to the root of your person. All these external things, and you can check yourself into all kinds of weird programs and learn, meditation things and all this weird guru stuff. Listen, none of it will work. Even the Christian guru stuff won't work. We take this Christian language and we start plugging people into programs. What about a man? And he lives. And a lot of times we go on and we start plugging ourselves into these different kind of movements and stuff, and all the while Jesus is just forgotten. He's kind of put on the shelf. Oh yeah, we remember him. That's a good guy, but look at all this other stuff. No, he is it. There's nothing more. And until you have him, you've got nothing. It is Jesus and only Jesus, the one and the only. See, you cannot even want him without him. You can't love him without him. You can't even recognize him without him. And once you believe this, you'll never live another day without throwing yourself at his feet, saying, you must be all to me today. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and the first thought on my mind is, I don't even want the Lord. And so I know where to go to get desire for the Lord. It's to throw myself at his feet. And then he fuels me with a vision of his person. And now I can love him again. I remember Michael said to me, in order for my heart to love him constantly, my eyes must see him constantly. Man, he said that to me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh, there it is, the secret. Looking unto Jesus. The author, he begins it, and the finisher brings it all the way to completion. It's only Jesus. Leonard Ravenhill was asked at the end of his life, how did you live so faithful to God all these years? He says, looking unto Jesus. There it is, the secret. Looking unto Jesus. See, beholding Jesus is also, it's not a means. What do you mean by a means? It's not a way to get stuff. Sometimes we're like, yeah, I'm going to look at Jesus so I can. No, you're adding. Let him be the fulfillment. I'm going to look at Jesus, period. Well, I need an answer. Man, forget your answer and let him be the answer. People are like, man, I'm working on my joy. Forget joy and look at Jesus. Man, I'm working on my peace and my patience and I'm trying to learn how to. No. Forget all that stuff and look at Jesus and he'll do all that stuff. It's the secret, guys. And I feel maybe there's somebody in this room that has began to just kind of shift off of it. And you know how you know if you've shifted off of it? You start getting weary. What do you mean I start getting weary? Jesus says if you come to him, he gives you rest. So a life of rest is a life of perpetually coming to Jesus. I come to you. I come to you bankrupt and all. I come to you. I come to you. I come to you. I come to you in victory. I come to you in failure. What we do in the time of victory is the same thing we do in the time of failure. We come to Jesus. That's our life now. As the lovers of Jesus, his feet are our pillow. His feet are our crown. To live there, laying there and looking from there, you see the world the way you're supposed to see it. See, when you get up above the Lord, you can't see the world the way you're supposed to see it. You can't see or value rightly. Everything's wrong, even if your language doesn't change. The danger with the intimacy movement is many people have only adopted the language. We've become In Christianity, we've adopted a Christian vocabulary rather than a Christ experience. And this is what happens a lot of times with us. We slip into these things, and it's not, the remedy is very easy. Just look. I recognize I haven't been looking. I look. He made it very simple. See, there are many results when you look at Jesus, but once you see him, you forget them all. And they just start happening. So I ask you, do you desire good things? There is none good but him. Do you desire blessing? Who's more blessed than Jesus? Do you desire power? Who's more powerful than the Son of God? Do you desire spiritual heights? Is he not the pinnacle? Do you desire riches? They're all hidden in him. Do you desire wisdom? He's the wisdom that was before the world began. Do you desire friendship? He's closer than a brother. Do you desire help? Who can help you but him? Do you seek joy? Well, he's anointed above all his fellows with joy. Do you seek comfort? Well, just come to him. Do you seek peace? He's the Prince of Peace. Do you seek life? Can another person be life to you? There's nobody else. Do you seek a husband? Who can love you more deeply than him? Do you seek a father? Who will love you more faithfully than Jesus? He's the everlasting Father. Do you desire beauty? What is more beautiful than him? I ask you, what is more attractive than Jesus? And the answer to that question, you'll find the thing that stops you from enjoying him. What is it that is more attractive to you than Jesus? That's how you find out what it is that stands between you and God. What is it that gets more of your attention than Jesus? What is it that moves your heart more than Jesus? In that answer, you find the reason why experiencing the bliss of his presence is not a daily reality, or why that has been lost. See, when you choose to marry him, you've let go of everything to just have him. When you choose to marry him, you have chosen to let go of everything else and only have him, forsaking all others, keeping only to you. This is the beauty of the new covenant. This is the wonder of the marriage to Christ. Is I look to you now for peace, not my husband, not my wife. I look to you now for joy, not things going my way. I look to you now for fulfillment, not gaining all the things that I want. This is the secret, him. Eric, you keep saying this is the secret. Yeah, I'm trying to reveal to you the secret. But it's not a secret because it's been revealed. It's Jesus. So because of the greatness of his majesty, to proclaim anything else becomes the greatest tragedy. Sometimes we forget how beautiful he is. As a matter of fact, every time I see him, I ask him to forgive me for forgetting how beautiful he is. I say, oh God, forgive me for forgetting how beautiful you really are. I don't know why there's a human propensity to leave dependency, but it's there. And it makes us need him more and more. See, without loving him, we never find satisfaction. I remember Michael gave me a Bible one time and he wrote on the inside, he said, love him, that's enough. And I read it, I said, man, I have the best kind of friends. Love him, that's enough. So even prayer can turn into a wearing friction without the tender love exchange with the lover of your soul. Sometimes we put prayer in his place. But without loving him, we find no satisfaction. We begin to leave him who alone is our sacred rest, and we wonder why we feel worn, weary, and laden. Many people stray into high spiritual exercises and routines of disciplines and responsibilities, and all the while forget the living lover of their souls. You know what the product of that equation is? Pride. Man, I fast 40 days. I fast 40 days. Well, number one, why are you telling me? Number two, what does that make you great or something? It's ridiculous. We love this stuff as humans. We're attracted to having a good, a wonderful high appearance. But I'll tell you, Heidi Baker said it like this: how can I stand up here and pretend to be something when you became nothing? I'm telling you guys, he brings everything back to himself. Most, if not all, our internal issues would be solved and dissolved by just clinging to him a little bit more seriously in our lives. You may always be abiding, if you will, at Jesus' side. In the secret of his presence, you may every moment hide. See, many of us want to be instantaneously delivered from everything that oppresses us and bothers us. We want to be instantaneously delivered from all of it so that we don't actually have to cling to Jesus. A.B. Simpson said, I found the spiritual secret. It is drawing Christ breath by breath. There it is. I need you. I need you. I need you. I read a book recently by Arthur Burt, and he said the secret of the spiritual life is that our bowing must be as our breathing. Now, Eric, what does that mean? Your bowing is your I worship you. I give you first place. I give you all my attention, my heart, my life. Your bowing must be as you're breathing. You breathe moment by moment to stay alive. So must be your bowing. You see, some people are dry and they wonder why. It's because they're too high. They got to go down low. When you pour water into a glass, the water rushes in to fill the lowest place. That's just like the Holy Ghost. He rushes in to fill those who are in the lowest place. So, here's the cure for anxiety. You ready? I'm going to close out right around here, I think. Here's the cure for anxiety. Here's the victory over all sin. Here's the healing that you've been seeking for your heart. Here's the strength to conquer. Here's the bloom and the blossom of all fruit. Jesus. The one and the only. Eric, I'm getting bored. You just keep saying Jesus. Well, brother, you need to come down and meet him tonight. You'll find he's inexhaustible. You say, yeah, but it just sounds kind of redundant. Well, I want to be redundant forever. Jesus upon Jesus, upon Jesus, upon Jesus. Let's just stay right there. I call Michael sometimes and I'll be like, hey man, what you preaching on? Jesus. What you going to preach on tomorrow night? Jesus. Are you coming? What are you going to speak about when you do that? Jesus. Man, it's the redundancy of real Christianity. Jesus, 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 Jesus. We have one message. There's only one thing to say. There's only one thing to offer. It's him. And we got to get it on the inside and recognize it and actually believe it so we won't stray off into all these strange, weird stream things. Man, let us have a commitment, a radical commitment to be reduced to only Jesus and stay there. I want people to get upset with our breed, the Jesus breed. Let us be a Jesus people that cannot stop proclaiming the lowly Son of God and Son of Man. So nothing else even exists to God. Did you hear that? The fact that Jesus is called the one and the only, that means nothing else exists in God's mind. If it doesn't find its way into Jesus, it has nothing to do with him. I don't have anything to do with that. You think about Abraham and Isaac, and Abraham has Isaac, but he already had Ishmael, and God says to Abraham, take your son, your only son. What do you mean, his only son? He had another son named Ishmael. But to God, nobody existed but the son of promise. So you think, oh yeah, we're going to do all this stuff. We're going to do all this. And listen, if it's not in him, to him, and through him, it doesn't exist in the eyes of God. Eric, but you don't understand. We got all kinds of fruit popping off. Forget your fruit. Jesus is the only fruit. Did it come from him? Did it work through him? Did it all go back to him? That's the only test. That's God's litmus test. Jesus. From start to finish. So Jesus, nothing more, nothing less. Here's Jesus' lesson. Learn of me. Here's Jesus' secret. Come to me. His wisdom is himself. His way is himself. His truth is himself. The writer of Hebrews tells us that faith is simply looking unto Jesus. He's Adam's only hope. He's Enoch's kidnapper. He's the face that Moses longed to see. Paul's only fear was that they would go into something more than Jesus. Paul's only determination was to know no addition to Jesus. 1 John shows us that it's shame to let go of Jesus. Eric, where do you see that? 1 John 2:28 says, cling to Jesus so that when he appears, you will not be ashamed. Eric, it doesn't say that. No, it says abide in Jesus, but you abide by clinging and you cling to abide. So that's how it is. You cling to Jesus. And if you're found not clinging to Jesus when he returns, I tell you what, your face will bow in shame. I wasn't holding you. So James's caution is love nothing but him. Paul's advice Peter's advice actually is to look at Jesus like a lamp shining in a dark place. What an imagery. If you're in a room that has no lights and then all of a sudden you light a match, what do you see? You can see that light. Pay attention to Jesus as if he's the only thing in the room. C.S. Lewis said, not only do I see you, but by you I see. Pay attention to Christ like a lamp shining in a dark place. David pines for something, for someone. He's pining. What does pine mean, Eric? Pining means my soul suffers out of desire for you. David is suffering on the inside, longing for somebody. It's God, and that's Jesus. Isaiah has a blessing, and his blessing is this: how blessed are those who long for him. Solomon's allegory tells us, let him hold you. Let his left hand be under your head and his right hand embrace you. Hosea cries out, marry me. See, a lot of the other prophets, they cry things like injustice. But Hosea is different. He says, you forgot me. The last time God ever gives a command with his mouth in the earth, do you want to know what it was? This is my son. Listen to him. It's the last thing God says. He never revoked that command. He gave it, and it still lives today like the day that he gave it. Listen to Jesus. Give him all of your attention. And I'm saying nothing more. There's where it ends with God. So you answer to God when you stand before him and listening to other people and other things. When his last command to you was this: listen to Jesus. You know what else it says here in the scriptures? These wonderful scriptures. It says that God, in various manners, in various times, he spoke in these different ways. But now in the last days, he has spoken in his son. Jesus is God's last speaking. His last command is listen to him. The last thing he'll say is Jesus. It is only and always all about Jesus. Mary cherishes him in her heart. The scripture says she hid these things in her heart. Mary of Bethany sees his presence more important than answers. When her brother's dead and he comes in, she throws herself at his feet. That means you being here is more important than me understanding what's going on. That's the beauty of a love relationship with Jesus. His presence is more important than people to her. And she pours out everything on him. Not part of it, all of it, because he's all to her. She reserves nothing from him. Even Abraham shows us that God, the Christ man himself, is more precious than his promises. You say, Eric, but Abraham's dealing was with God. Jesus said before Abraham was, I am. Abraham didn't even know what he was longing for was the Son of Man. That's God himself. Jacob cries out a strange cry. What is it? Touch me, God. Oh boy, maybe you're here tonight and you have been craving the Lord in your life. You've slipped into a love sickness, and you're literally sick with love. You're having these cravings for God that you just can't even walk down your hallway without breaking down. Maybe you're doing your hair, and in the middle of doing your hair, you have to shut off everything and just cry. I'm telling you, this is the most beautiful thing in the world. This is what is inside of Jacob, who says, touch me, God, touch me. And this is the kind of generation that God says, these are the ones that seek my face. They cry out for me. They're groaning for me. And Isaiah goes on to say that Jacob was loved by God. This is what God loves the most, when people long for him. He seeks to be sought. He longs to be longed for. He waits to be wanted. It's Jesus, who is all yours, given completely. For he is the fullness of grace and truth, and the Spirit himself we receive from his fullness. Even the Spirit is not outside of Jesus. We receive the Spirit through the fullness of Jesus. So here it is, the greatest message that there is. It is Jesus from start all the way to the finish. We endure by seeing him who is unseen, just like Moses. So maturity in the Christian life is maintaining a radical reduction to only Jesus. For it is he who the Spirit enables us to see, and it is him in whom God is seen. Everything meets in Jesus. The Spirit says, look at him. God says, I'm putting myself in him. We'll meet right here, God and man. Jesus Christ, the face of God. This is why God wouldn't show Moses his face. Show me your face, Lord. Show me your face. Why couldn't he show him his face? Because Jesus had not yet come. He's the only face of God. I've reserved my face for the Son. Simeon waited for it. So the only life that makes sense to the angels who behold his face is a life that lives looking unto Jesus. Nothing else makes sense to them. They literally, I believe, look down and see a lot of Christians saying, what the dang are they doing? Look at them. If we don't look at him, I believe they look at us and say, why aren't you staring? Even the highest of the angels can't take their eyes off of him. The holiest of all up there is fixed on the holiest of all. So, he's greater than the angels, and he's higher than the priests. Every knee will bow to his exalted seat. 7 stars in his hand, and every crown is at his feet. Complete and perfect rest. Complete and perfect are his ways. He's the Ancient of Days. The earth and sky flee from his face. He's a person, a taste, a resting place, a refuge in any case. Oh, for the day when our faith shall be sight. And because he is bright, the bride's clothes turn to white. He's the lamp in the night, the end of all the fights. Some of you are fighting. Let him end your fights. He's all power and might. He's light, life, and love. Jesus above. What is the message tonight? It is this. Stare at the Lamb and call everyone else to do the same. Look, I'm looking. You too should look. I look at the Lamb, and I call everybody else to look at the Lamb. This is what John the Baptist says. It says he saw the Lamb walking, and then he called everybody else looking at him. He goes, behold, look, the Lamb. Look, the Lamb. While he's looking at the Lamb, he says, look at the Lamb. Oh, this is what we do. This is our job, guys. So that's what he seeks tonight, a bride, a singled eye. And I'm going to close right here with these 4 little things. 4 little ways to show or know if Jesus is your first love. 4 little ways to know that Jesus is actually everything to you. 4 little ways to know that he has his proper place in your life. Are you ready? Number 1, no one and nothing captivates your heart like him. You can be sure that if something else has more of a draw on your attention, Jesus doesn't have his proper place in your life. That's number 1. Number 2, time with him is more important than anything else. You refuse to not give him time because you love him. And it's not about a discipline. I'm going to make sure I spend my time with God. No, let me tell you what it is. It's a pining. I long to be with you. Eric, well, my prayer right now is a discipline. Come and meet Jesus. And you'll see that the beauty And the rays of his face will draw you in like a giant magnet. Every fiber of your being will long to be with him. And you'll find yourself throwing yourself at his mercy again and again, and finding that this is the secret of a sustained Christian life, is looking continually unto him. The third thing is this, is that his word means more to you than anybody else's words. My son, my precious bride, the day is nearing when I'll take you in my arms and hold you. I know there's so many things that you've been hearing, but you just hold on to what I've told you, Keith Green wrote. The fourth thing is this, his desires mean more to you than your own desires. The two shall become one flesh. That is the loss of self in another. That's marriage. That's marry me. That's being a bride. So I question you tonight. Why? Because I believe that it is as simple as acknowledging that you need him to have all this stuff be sparked in your life. So that being with God is number one to you. Also, that his beauty will captivate you more than anything else. That his word will mean more to you than the word of other people, and that his desires will mean more to you than even your own desires. So if this is not your life, I'm inviting you to bow your knees to the romantic king. Because the moment that they touch the ground, you will enter into a living relationship with him. Because herein is the issue. Will you bow your knee to the king? That's the secret. This is what I like to do. Everybody just stand to your feet right where you are. Is this okay? Are you guys all right with this? Proclaiming him, loving him, fixed upon him, remembering him, all for him, all because of him, all about him. It's just him, 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 him. You look at the book of Song of Solomon and you begin to find she loses him by neglect. Then you know what she does? She begins to say, do you see him, 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 him? She says him 5 times in a row in 2 verses. Why? Because she's recognizing her attention must go back to the one that she loves. That's how she missed him, was being inattentive to him. I want to pray a prayer that I wrote down in my own life. I prayed this personally. This was a personal experience with me and the Lord. I saw the Lord and I felt in that moment my deep wickedness and need for him. Have you ever had this before? And I wrote this prayer out and I want to pray it with you. That it would be something that God can take and make things brand new in your life. Is that okay? Just close your eyes right where you are and put your hand on your heart. Pray this with me. Say, here lies my heart. Wicked, wounded, weary and in parts. Deeply sank. Blank. Redeem me again. Esteem me your friend. Lean in and mend my broken love. Cover me. Take me up with thee. Smother me to recovery like there's no other but me. And let our eyes meet as I lay on your feet. Please keep me completely to finish from start, heart upon heart. Lord, help me cling to you, to sing to you, to linger with you, and bring to you everything I do. I worship you. I give you honor and glory. No one like you. I bless you, Lord. Just begin to worship him right where you are. Simple. Oh, how I long for you. Oh, how I long for you. See him. Just see him. He's here. He's smiling at you. He loves you so much. He's taken with you. Looking at you. You have all his attention. Oh, skip through bridegroom, skip through bridegroom. Skip through bridegroom. Shepherd.